Hello and welcome to the Golden Wheel Tavern. It's so good to see you all again. It's so good to see you every 2 weeks, and I'm glad we're getting back to a nice regular schedule. All the holidays have passed. The snow is starting to melt, despite the fact that when we're recording this, there should be a couple feet of snow. Instead, the snow is melting. Must be some weird... You know what? The Cult of Elemental Evils is at it again. That's what I'm betting. I'm betting those elemental cultists from the Cult of Elemental Evil, whatever that campaign is called. I have it right over there, but I can't see it because it's behind me. I bet they're up to something. It's a Wizard of Thay.
No, I think it's a Red Wizard of the Arcane Brotherhood.
Princes of the Apocalypse.
The Frost Maiden herself has decided to take a vacation.
The Frost Maiden has decided to leave.
The Frost Maiden has blessed us with the lack of snow.
How do you feel about that?
I think she should be more of a bitch.
But she's not the bitch queen.
No, but you can be a bitch without being the bitch queen. Fun fact, I've met plenty of them.
Okay. Well, since we've had a long day.
There's no brew today.
There's no brew today.
Because it's a late night episode. I may yawn a couple times.
It's late. We have played, well, you have played Dungeons & Dragons 3 times this weekend.
I've played Dungeons & Dragons for the past 3 days.
I have played Dungeons & Dragons for the past 2 days because I'm not included in the third group.
CEO girls only until the non-patron name switches departments. And yeah, you'll have to switch that out with non-patron name.
Yeah.
Then it's our jobs, girls only.
Yeah. It's a girls only thing. I'm not invited. I'm not an honorary girl in this instance.
Also, we're mostly going to be playing when you're at work anyways.
Yeah.
So.
But speaking of your new group...
Yes.
Yes, our Tales from the Tavern's Tables.
With my Frost Maiden campaign, I am running D&D, even though quite a few episodes back I said it was not something I wanted to do again. But I did say it was something I'd be willing to try again if it was a pre-written adventure, and it turns out that's a lot more fun. I knew going into starting this campaign that I wasn't going to be able to do homebrew because I was already homebrewing a different campaign, and God, that would have been a nightmare. Props off to people who can do that. Shit. However, it went well. We had quite a few new players. One of our players pimped out another player. I think that was really the highlight of the session. So that's what you're getting. Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, they did the starter mission where you hunt down Stefik Caltro. Ended up in, I want to say, Bremen, which has the 5 tavern center. 5 taverns in a semicircle. 4 players. They all went into one tavern together, and then they decided they would split up and individually investigate the other 4 taverns. One of my players, my drow druid, got herself into a little bit of a predicament when she started talking to two drunk guys and felt too awkward to stop talking to 2 drunk guys. And when our changeling warlock came in, he tried the old, hey, you can't talk to her, that's my girlfriend trick. And instead, I thought it was funny if the drunk guy just offered him gold for her.
And then what happened?
Well, it was a little bit of bartering for a minute. 1 gold, no 5. 2 gold, no, I can do 4. 2 gold, 5 silver. Come on, man. You gotta give me at least 3. I have 2 gold and 5 silver, to which the resolution to that barter was, okay, I'll do 2 gold, 5 silver, but I get a watch.
That sounds like weird.
Some kinky shit, right? So they all went up to his little room at the tavern, the drunk guy's room. Our beloved changeling warlock knocked him the fuck out with 1 solid punch. And then the drunk guy already paid the 2 gold, 1 silver. That's all the money he had on him. They took his ring and his left shoe and left him there to sleep.
So one of the players offered to pimp out another player, and then they knocked the guy out and took his stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
And I'm assuming everyone was having fun in character and like enjoying the moment.
Yes. Since this was a new group before the session started, we went over, the basics, lines, fails, X cards, that sort of stuff.
Which are all useful for maintaining what we will be talking about this episode in our Tavern Talking topic, player buy-in / immersion. So, what is buy-in? You hear this term, sometimes you hear suspension of disbelief, buy-in, immersion. They're all nebulous in regards to their usage in regards to TTRPG. There's some overlap, there's some distinction between the 3, but they're all this similar idea, which is possibly can also be like thrown in the word absorption or a flow state. It's your characters being zoned in on the story as their characters. It's being pulled in. It's like if you read a good book and the world fades away from around you. I am not often experiencing that with the current book I'm reading, but oh well.
You're not reading a book.
Oh yeah, sorry, we don't read for this podcast.
Like, yeah, what the fuck? I would kick you off this podcast.
Sorry, my bad. I'm definitely not reading Conan the Cimmerian, the collection of Robert E. Howard stories. I would never read that. I would never read that. But it's that idea of being sucked in to your character, sucked into the world, zoomed in.
If you're a theater kid, it's your actor's faith.
It's your actor's faith, it's your suspension of disbelief, it's your immersion. Which, why is it important to have buy-in or immersion? Because it moves it from a game to an experience. Sometimes you hear about D&D being compared, I use this term if I want to sound pretentious, a cooperative storytelling experience. But if your players are not bought in, they're just going to see it as essentially a board game. And if that's what you're after, that's fine. It's just not going to be as much D&D as you might want it to be. Especially in the emotional moments. You can't have emotional moments without player buy-in. You can have, you can't have dramatic emotional moments. You can have procedural emotional moments where something stops the players from proceeding. Usually that's going to be a player has hit 0 hit points, which can cause an emotional moment in the player because they are losing. But you cannot have a dramatic emotional moment if the players are not bought in, because they do not care about the dramatic stakes if they are not bought in. They only care about the emotion or the procedural stakes. They only care about killing the big bad. They don't care if, while they have succeeded in persuading their friend to do a favor for them, their friend has lost some belief in how good you are as a person. Mm-hmm. That's not going to affect you if you don't have any buy-in. Mm-hmm. So emotional moments and role-playing take buy-in. So some people equate to immersion and buy-in and suspension of disbelief as a key component of having fun in a TTRPG. More immersion, more buy-in, the more fun you're going to have, right? So if we go with that idea, buy-in is important, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have anything you want to add?
Not about the importance of buy-in.
Okay, so what can affect buy-in?
The sidebar conversations.
Sidebar conversations can definitely affect buy-in because it can pull people out.
Jokes.
Mm-hmm. And lampshading. Do you know what lampshading is? So, lampshading would be like if I, as the DM, say, so one of your favorite things in TTRPGs is favorite thing in TTRPG podcasts is kind of lampshading, which is someone that says Jesus Christ and they're like, they have Jesus Christ here, and you're like, yeah, fantasy Jesus Christ. And you make a joke out of it. Or you point out the fact that, yeah, my fantasy world building isn't that deep because I have the term Jesus Christ. Lampshading is you as a creator know you made something bad or you used a cliche or something, so you point out the fact that it's a cliche and that it lowers the quality of the work. Basically, you critique yourself before other people can get in to critique you.
I'm gonna say, whenever I say fantasy whatever, I don't see that as lowering the quality of my work.
No, but some people do.
Well, they're wrong. Fantasy Costco is real, and it can hurt you.
It sure can. So, another thing, I think the things we just talked about, I want to coalesce them into group dynamic. Mm-hmm. Group dynamic is going to be the biggest decider of player buy-in, right? And I think our 3 groups give us a good discussion there, right? Because our Saturday group in our last session very much basically stopped and had a discussion about player buy-in. Mm-hmm. Because we see our Saturday game as a time to wind down and hang out with people we like. So there's a lot of jokes, a lot of sidebars. Almost constantly, someone is talking while the spotlight is on someone else. Almost constantly. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. So that group does not do a lot of immersion or buy-in, and that's not necessarily bad.
No, it's fun. That group is more us hanging out with our friends.
Right. But that does kill buy-in almost immediately. I don't think there's a good chance stands for emotional dramatic moments in that group, other than with one character, Faust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That player does buy in a lot.
That character, that
Spends
player...
all their money on the game.
Yeah.
Not physical, but buy-in. They're buying a lot of in.
Yeah, they're buying in real hard. That player does that and can very much do the emotional buy-in very quickly, which is great. The rest of our characters, not really, because a lot of us, even that player is likely to jump in with a quip, with a joke, and affect the emotional buy-in. Versus our Sunday group will also do jokes and bits and whatnot, but I think is a bit better at pulling into the scene if necessary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Sunday group turns it on and off and on and off and on and off.
Yeah.
1 minute, they're in the zone, everyone's bought in. The next minute, one of them's asked
we will call it a DM question rather than naming the player.
In our group, this kind of question is named after the player. So their name question. It's when you should really be asking something in character, but instead you turn to the DM and say, how do I solve this puzzle? Not necessarily like that, but that type of a question.
You walk into, you're in a room and there's a mysterious figure, and this player would turn to the DM and be like, why is that figure here?
What's his deal?
What's his deal?
What's his name?
What's his name? Instead of interacting with the figure in the game.
Yeah.
But that group is able to turn it on and off, and they do it constantly. It's rather than the other group, which is low buy-in, it's like a sine wave, but it's a very high frequency sine wave. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
I would say my Friday group, because that's the day that we've decided on, Fridays. They're pretty good at the buy-in. There's not a lot of out-of-character stuff happening. It's not perfect. Most of them don't understand the rules of the game yet. Yeah. So there is a fair bit of, hey, wait, how does this thing work? And then after it's explained, it's kind of right back in.
Yeah, so your Friday group, it stays mostly in and dips out.
Yes.
To clarify rules. Which is an important note for buy-in, is the fact that it's not like you reach top immersion and you hold it the entire time. That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
That would be exhausting, because you would be an actor taking on a role for 4 hours, as most people don't have theater training or that kind of stuff.
You are not the players on Critical Role. I am so sorry to tell you this.
Yes. So, expect buy-in to shift, and depending on your group, you might not have a lot of buy-in. You might be able to fluidly go buy-in, no buy-in, buy-in, no buy-in, in-game, out of game, in-game, out of game. Or you hold in-game except for brief breaks here and there. But group dynamic, huge for setting buy-in. The other two main things I want to cover for affecting buy-in is DM description. If the DM just says you walk into a room and the players have to ask and dissect this room, that's going to be sort of immersion breaking, versus if a DM sets up a scene and the players can walk in and interact with that scene without having to step out and ask, okay, are there any tables in this room? You mentioned pillars. Where are they? You know, that kind of stuff.
You know, in our Sunday group, when I get asked those questions, it's typically, let me finish.
Let me finish. That is...
That also affects player buy-in.
And that is also a very much DM question player habit of just, you're in the middle of describing something and they're like, okay, but what about this?
I'll get there.
But if the DM can properly set a scene and that the players enter in, rather than the players having to build the scene along with the DM, that helps maintain player buy-in. And then the last one I want to put out there is mood setting, right? So, for example, Icewind Dale, the thing your Friday group is going through, is actually almost horror.
Yeah, the campaign itself was based off of The Thing.
Yeah, it's your classic, The Thing is a classic example of this, but it's your classic northern lands. It's cold, it's dark for a lot of the year. There is low hope, there is low energy, there is little happiness. You actually see that in a lot of stories based on northern regions, because it's cold, it's bleak. That's why people in Nordic countries love their black death metal.
We've all had seasonal depression. Just imagine that all year long.
Imagine not seeing the sun for like 3 months.
So winter. Imagine winter.
I mean, it's different because the sun doesn't even rise for 3 months.
Imagine winter.
Imagine winter constantly. So, but that's going to help buy-in because it's going to be a lot more dark. It's going to be a lot more grim. There's more of a social pressure, even if it's not actually there, to buy in and act as though there is that horror, there is that grim, there is that sadness. Versus if I do a campaign that's like Wild Beyond Witchlight or Journey Through the Radiant Citadel, where you might be in a setting that's bright and lively, that's going to encourage interaction and possibly more jokes, more sidebars, more cut-ins from other players because everyone's happy and having fun. So mood setting can affect it.
So don't let your players have fun.
Let your players have fun. Just understand that if you're doing bright, sunny, happy, you're going to have to work more with dynamic and DM description to keep buy-in high if you want buy-in high. Mm-hmm. Now, what players can do and DMs can do to maximize buy-in is set clear expectations. Because if you don't set a clear expectation that, hey, I want you guys focused when you're playing so that I can have emotional moments, you know what your players are going to do?
Have fun.
They're gonna have fun in the way they want to, right? Which might be sidebars, might be jokes. Speaking of sidebars, if you really want buy-in to be good, you have to discourage sidebars, sadly, for our Saturday group. But another thing the DM can do is move the spotlight frequently. Because you know who's doing sidebars?
The people not in the scene.
The tuned out players. Which also puts a little bit of the onus on the tuned out players to stay tuned in, to focus on what the other characters are doing, because it might affect them. Do you have any other tips for maximizing buy-in?
Know your players.
Know your players.
Just like not every group is going to be a big buy-in group, and you gotta know that going in. Like our Sunday group. Mm-hmm. Are they good at buy-in? Yes. Are they good at not doing sidebars? No. Is it easy to stop a sidebar once it's started? There's a reason why in our Saturday group, when I've run Monster of the Week, we can get through a full mystery in 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And our Sunday group, when I run Monster of the Week, we get through a quarter of a mystery in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Know your group, have reasonable expectations. Set your expectations, but make them reasonable. And know what kind of settings are going to jive well with your players for buy-in, right? I personally know with my Friday group, because I have one person who has been a long-time D&D player. I've talked to them multiple times about, like, their previous groups, heard a lot about, like, the stuff that they didn't like that was happening in their previous group. Stuff that, like, really, like, reflecting on it is, stuff that affected their buy-in. What's affecting their buy-in? And it was these certain things. And I know enough about my other players, even though they haven't played Dungeons & Dragons, I know enough about their personality to know it's going to keep them interested. Mm-hmm. So I know what kind of settings are going to jive best with that group. And it's going to be the darker stuff, the more grim stuff. Wild Beyond Witchlight, probably not. Curse of Strahd, most likely. But with our Sunday group, they are more of a lively, happy, this is fun time group. We could touch on serious things here and there. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, they're going to have more fun and buy-in in a campaign that's a little bit more on the comical side. I would definitely say our Monster of the Week campaign is a little bit more comical.
Yes. And our group has great fun with that. Mm-hmm. And as we've discussed, they can buy in and have those emotional moments and then sidebar for 20 minutes.
Yes.
And then buy in
have
hard.
Another 10 minutes of emotional and another hour-long sidebar.
Hour-long sidebar because one of our players got scared by a mannequin that's been there the entire time.
Has been there every single time they've been over.
And they just looked over and... Oh, shoot, I thought that was somebody.
Shoot, I thought that was one of the players from your other games coming to curse me with hiccups.
Anyways, sidebar. But, do you actually need buy-in?
Some people are just there to for some people, the game and the fun of it is I am at a table with my friends.
Yep.
For other people, the game and the fun of it is the game.
Mm-hmm.
The emotion, the story. Depends on what you're running. Honey Heist, for example, might not be a system that you're gonna run and expect to have a maximum buy-in.
I don't know. I'll take barreled very seriously.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Whereas Girl by Moonlight is a system that crumbles without it.
Girl by Moonlight requires buy-in versus definitely Wizards can do well with buy-in, but buy-in's not going to be crucial to success. Yeah. I think almost any system benefits from buy-in, but there are systems that are fine without it, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that some groups are there for the story, for the game, to have fun. Mm-hmm. Other groups are there for the camaraderie, to be hanging out with friends. Mm-hmm. I think that if we plot the three on a spectrum, your three groups, I think we have the spectrum.
Yes.
We have your Friday group, which is there for the game. They came there to learn and play the game. Yes, they like hanging out with each other, but they came there to learn and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Which is why they have a lot of buy-in. Sunday group, yes, we like hanging out with each other. Part of it is the fact that we get to see each other.
Yeah.
But we also all love stories and love partaking in stories. So when we're immersed and bought in, we're having a great time. When we're sitting around joking with each other, we're having a great time. Like I said, Saturday group is there for the camaraderie, but also there for the game. Our Sunday group has had a great time sitting down and playing One Night Ultimate Werewolf instead of playing the game, and probably had just as much fun, right? While we all enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons in that group, we are there to hang out with each other. Dungeons and Dragons is just the vehicle we use to spend time together with that group. And that changes the buy-in. The thing we don't have is the old Grognard group. We don't have an old Grognard group, which you would not get buy-in with them because they are not role-playing.
They are rule-playing.
They are playing a game.
They are rule-playing.
They are role-playing. So we don't have the old Grognard group, but that's fine.
I would not survive.
You would not survive. I would maybe survive depending on if the old Grognards were still cool and not problematic. So
you just need to start a boys group with people in your department and just make it so rules focused they have no chance to be anything but grognards by the next time they go do a different campaign with different people.
Hell yeah. The most important thing though is that immersion is not the be all end all. Earlier we said immersion means more fun, but fun is more important than immersion.
This is correct.
Fun is more important than immersion. If your party's not having fun because you're trying to force them to be in character, don't. If your players are having fun, there you go. That's all that matters. That's all that ever will matter when playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Because if your players don't walk away from the session saying, that was fun, I want to do that again, what was the point of doing it in the first place?
Yeah.
Just that simple. In summary, buy-in is how sucked in your players are into the game. And while it does help make the game more fun and is the fuel on which emotional moments and role-playing run, it is not the be-all end-all. You can affect it through setting the scene, setting the mood, and your group dynamic. You can set expectations, you can discourage sidebars. But at the end of all things, does buy-in increase the fun for everyone at the table? Because if it doesn't, it's not important. I think you can agree with that.
No, I think fuck everyone's fun. Buy-in above all.
Buy-in. I want professional actors at my table by next session. You hear that?
If your lines aren't memorized by next session, you're out.
I will be sending you an outline for every session when I run my campaign, patrons, and also a couple non-patrons. And if you do not have the outlines memorized and know your cues, you're out. Okay? That's it. You get one chance. I will replace you like that.
I don't need the monster manual.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about a setting-specific monster today.
Ooh.
An Icewind Dale-specific monster.
Ooh.
an undead man by the name Stefik Caltro.
Okay.
Because I think he's interesting, right?
Right.
He is kind of your run-of-the-mill undead, kind of. He still looks like a normal person. He's unaffected by the harsh weather conditions of Icewind Dale. He communicates like a normal person. He is a normal human, except he is undead. Because when he was a sailor who had died, and when he died, Aril, I think is how you pronounce that god's name?
That's how I would pronounce it.
Okay. Aril replaced his soul with like the soul of winter, right? And created an undead out of this man's body to have someone who could go enforce her will in the towns that people were cheating their ways out of the human sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find him like an interesting adaptation of having an undead enemy as one, like sometimes you need a way to kick off a campaign so people can kind of start getting the idea of like who's the real enemy here, but you don't just want to throw in the big bad right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves questions. Why is the Frost Maiden doing all this to begin with? And all that sort of stuff. I just find him to be interesting. I also like him because he's the first combat that the party went up against, but he does have life regeneration, which I feel like isn't something people throw at their level 1 characters very often.
No.
Enemies with life regeneration. Granted, it's a small amount. He only regains like 5 hit points on his turn if he's in an environment where the temperature is 0 degrees or lower. But it's still not something people see at level 1.
And it's something that rewards your players for due diligence.
Yes.
Right? It rewards your players for trying to figure out about this thing, possibly learning through some means that, hey, if this guy is in the cold, he is stronger.
Yeah. And even though my players didn't necessarily learn that, I do think that they figured out pretty quick that if he's hit with fire, he doesn't regain his hit points.
Yeah.
Like most things that have regeneration, if they're hit with fire, they don't regain hit points.
Yeah, a lot of things that have regeneration, just like fire stops them.
This is because he's literally a cold monster.
Yeah. So, that's an interesting thing, and I always love the idea of intelligent undead. Using intelligent undead as minions, because usually undead are, of course, brainless.
Yes.
Right? You have your zombie horde, you have your skeleton army. Intelligent undead, you can have them chase down the party, have them hunt down something in an intelligent way, but still just be an expendable lackey to the BBEG, because the BBEG can summon more of these undead.
Yeah.
So intelligent undead are interesting and can move the story in a really unique way. And I like the fact that the first major encounter of Rhyme of the Frost Maiden is an intelligent undead that also you can reward the players with information regarding to make the fight easier.
Yeah. I will say, so Rhyme of the Frost Maiden is the only official campaign I've ever DM'd, but I do like that you get a choice at what the party's first mission is going to be. They have 2 starting missions. They have that one, and they also have one that has no combat in it.
Okay.
You do have the option to start the campaign with a mission with no combat. Just depends on what your party wants and what you think is going to be easiest to ease them into the campaign. For my Friday group, I specifically chose that because I do have a player who's in search of souls. Now, did they know that this person was undead going into it? No. They didn't know that the person they were hunting down was undead. They just need souls that are preferably are souls from sailors who are not of a good alignment, are humanoid, and have at least killed one person, right? Obviously, undead don't have souls, but since that player didn't know going in, I knew that would immediately give them buy-in to say, hey, I have a man you need to hunt down. He's killed people.
Yep. Which the other option would also take a lot of buy-in. The option was no combat.
Yeah. I didn't really read through that one because when I saw the first one, I was like, oh, this is kind of perfect for the group. It has something, I'm sure it would have worked because it had something to do with druids, and we have a druid at the table, and so there would have been something to pull them in, but,
I think that's all very, very interesting, and I like the intelligent undead and the fact that you had an option there, and you pick something that would buy in one of the players. A good player hook can increase buy-in. The issue is just buy-in is a communal thing. Everybody has to be buying in. If you have someone who's not buying in, that drags down buy-in, and if you have 2 people who are not buying in at a given moment, 2 people can kill buy-in.
Yeah. Also, a quick note with buy-in, if your party is split at the moment, so you do have people who are sitting out, I would try to keep scene scenes briefer.
Yep.
To move that spotlight around more. The longer you focus on one part of the group, the easier it's going to be for the rest of the group to start tuning out.
Yep. Move the spotlight frequently, especially to tuned out players.
Yeah.
Now, we're moving on from buy-in to the quote.
Yes, the quiz bowl.
The quiz bowl!
We have an extra question for this one.
Ooh.
Because I learned a D&D fact, and I was like, that's going to be a question, and I don't think he's going to be able to answer that.
A D&D fact?
Yeah. So, we'll start with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In a second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons supplement. Let me start. So, in regular 5e, you have 6 skill attributes.
Yes.
How many skill attributes did they put for use, for recommended use, in a second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons supplement named... I don't have the name of it. How many attributes did it give characters?
8.
12.
12.
12.
Okay. Do you have the list?
I haven't pulled up the list.
Because the only one... Because I just added honor and sanity.
Those I don't believe are there.
Really? Gumption, chutzpah, moxie, cut of your jib, childlike wonder, and je ne sais quoi.
Well, if I could type the number 12 right, that would probably help. I kept writing 1S, 1S, 1S.
Chutzpah, gumption, moxie, je ne sais quoi, cut of your jib, childlike sense of wonder. Although I think instead you should do chutzpah, gumption, moxie, cut of your jib, je ne sais quoi, X Factor.
The specific module added on was called Player Options, Skills, and Powers.
Okay.
So you gotta find that PDF.
The options added were love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. They took out intelligence and charisma. And they took out intelligence, charisma, and wisdom. You had your 3 physical stats, and then your 9 fruits of the spirit.
I have to look up.
Actually, wait, no, there's only 7 fruits of the spirit.
Dexterity was broken into stamina and muscle. Strength was broken into stamina and muscle. Dexterity was broken into aim and balance. Constitution was broken into health and fitness. Intelligence was broken into reason and knowledge. Wisdom was broken into intuition and willpower. And charisma was broken into leadership and appearance.
Okay, so it's just they took each stat and subdivided it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say I kind of regret telling you that fact about Elminster because I think that would have also made a very fun question.
Yeah.
Elminster is the only archmage, as I like to say, who has levels in fighter.
Only one of the big archmages. I'm sure there's another archmage with the level in fighter, but the big archmages like Mordekainen, Tasha, Elminster.
From what I know, of the famous ones, he's the only one that's multi-classed at all. He has 1 level in fighter, 2 levels in cleric, 25 levels wizard, and 5 levels archmage.
Yeah.
Okay. Vlaakith, the queen who has ruled the Githyanki for over a millennium, is what type of undead creature?
Judging by the fact that she's ruled for over a millennium, I'm gonna guess a lich.
Correct.
Oh, tough one.
Which online platform hosted the 1991 Neverwinter Nights networked D&D game? I swear, I think we've done this card before. For real?
I don't think we have.
Oh.
If you're confident we've done it before, we can go.
I might be having deja vu.
Maybe Deja Rave.
Anyways, what online platform hosted that in 1991?
Just give me the answer. I don't know.
AOL.
AOL?
What other online platform was there in 1991?
I don't even understand how what that question actually means.
Which online platform?
No, okay. So I don't know examples of online platforms.
Google, AOL, Yahoo, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace.
Okay,
Pornhub.
but could it be on Angel Fire then?
That's not a platform, that's a server base, isn't it?
See, that's exactly. I don't know the difference. Move on.
Okay. Which ability measures health, stamina, and vital force, and is important for all character classes?
Let's see. The ability scores are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and constitution. So I'm gonna go with constitution.
Ah, man, it's gentleness.
Ah, damn it. Thought maybe it was goodness.
No.
But no, it's constitution.
Constitution, yeah. Aegis Fang. Aegis Fang? I don't know. Aegis.
Okay.
Fang. The weapon created for Wolfgar by Brunor Battlehammer was what type of weapon?
Great sword.
No, hammer. Also described as a war hammer.
Damn.
That's all we can give to the people for free, though.
Yeah. Well,
they even had an extra one for free because I had
that fun fact.
The fun tree effect.
So, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate every single one of you. We appreciate every listen. We appreciate any sort of social media interaction you do, though. So if you have various social medias, you can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok. You can find us on YouTube, but then we just re-upload the episodes there. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a high rating wherever you're listening. We appreciate it. If you want to support us directly, you can go to patreon.com/The Tavern Keeps Guide and become a patron of the tavern. At $5 or more, you get the Patreon cut, which includes extra questions, includes a cold open, cold outro, and includes any sort of mid-episode sidebars that might break your immersion and your buy-in. So if you want to check us out there, go there. And also, we are on Mastodon at the Dice.camp instance in case you jumped ship when the one platform fell under the rule of the evil, tyrannical Mechano King.
Gortash?
Yes. Yep, when Gortash took over the bird's nest. If you jump ship, we're at the Dice.camp instance of Mastodon as well. So, check us out everywhere you can find us. If we're anywhere, it's the Tavern Keeps Guide. Just that easy. We appreciate every one of you. And as always, make sure to tip the barmaids.